Hi, everyone. I'm immigration lawyer John Kasravi. Thank you for joining us today for our live session every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we're here. Today's February 10th. I'm going to update you on some changes and really not any changes to the immigration system, not the new president's here, but also take your Q&A or live questions on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all sorts of other places. It's all here. There's going to be a lot of questions, so we'll see what's happening. We got questions jumping up. When are they going to lift the proclamations? Well, let's jump into it right now. All right, so there's a lot of hubbub with the new administration about what's going to happen when immigration changes. I'm getting calls constantly, emails. Now that Biden's out the new laws here, what's happening? There's nothing new. Nothing has changed. The president has talked a good game so far, but he hasn't walked the walk yet. He made it sound like he's going to change everything, but nothing has really changed. The only one or two changes was the so-called Muslim ban was lifted, which didn't make much of a difference for the cases that were affected by that because there's other bans and other issues that exist. There's also one other thing he did that was not that big a deal. But the rest of the stuff are all in place. Many of the COVID bans are going to remain until the end of March. No word on what's happening with DACA. There was an executive order that was supposed to be signed last Tuesday or a week or two ago. But all they said when they were signed was that we're going to think about it some more. The last 4 years, it wasn't enough time to think about it. Now they have to still think about it, but it is what it is. So the reality is the border situation has not gotten any better. The travel bans haven't really got any better. People are still stuck outside. The embassies are not opening up. Many of them have been doing interviews for most types of cases. USCIS is backed up. Biometrics appointments are taking 7 or 8 months to get easily. Receipt notices are sometimes taking 3 to even 3.5 months to get. It's kind of wild situation. And we got news today that the administration is still going to fight and argue in support of a court case that the President Trump's administration was pursuing for diversity visa lotteries. These are green card lottery winners that were suing, and the government's still fighting this. They didn't drop the charges, so they're still fighting President Trump's fight. So far is not a good start. The immigration situation has not been a positive. It's been more of the same, although the rhetoric has changed. There's been bills introduced into Congress saying we're going to try to get status for people that have DACA, deferred action for child arrivals, for people that are TPS holders. If people are getting really excited, a lot of videos coming up on the various social media sites talking about this. But the reality is, if you go and check the congressional history for bills being introduced, every year there's like 50 to 100 bills being introduced for immigration in Congress. None of them go anywhere. So it's just like the fact that they're being introduced is exciting. That's because no one's paying attention to the fact that these bills are always introduced and they always go nowhere. Now, hopefully it'll be different. Democrats control both parties, both houses, and the president's Democrat. But immigration is one of those issues. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. And some of the trajectory is better than it was during Trump, obviously, but nothing is happening yet. So we get a lot of questions about this in live Q&A right now about what's happening with this, why is it going forward and that. And we'll talk about it, but all the answers with regards to when is something going to change, when is that going to happen, it's like asking me when is COVID-19 going to end. I don't have those answers, so let's jump into it. So we have a question on YouTube. Any update on business immigration? Any hope for movement of priority dates for people from India and China? That's not up to us telling the future. I'm not a person that can tell the future. We'll have to see. Anila says, how many days to get a work permit for adjustment of status? There are no time limits. You go to uscis.gov for their timelines, but they're completely unreliable. You really just have to wait. Jay Club says, how about travel bans for O&Hs who have been in the U.S. since 2020? So O's don't have a direct travel ban. H-1Bs do. If you're in the United States on an H-1B visa already and you leave, get a new visa, there's an exception to the travel ban for COVID that was introduced, the non-immigrant visa travel ban. But consult an immigration attorney regarding your case. And just in general, always remember this is general legal guidance. It's educational purposes, not intended for individual advice. Drew Vassar, how are you? I'm doing good. I have a question. My interview was done almost 6 weeks ago, but no reply yet. You just got to wait. I don't know what happened in the interview. I don't know anything about your case, so I'm not really in a position to be able to answer that question. But sometimes it takes longer and still gets approved. I just don't know. If you're worried, talk with the hearing in private, talk with a lawyer in private, see take your paperwork, your forms and stuff so they can take a look to see what happened there. Alicia asks, can you please tell me why the NBC is taking so long to process? My case has been there 9 months for K-1 visa. Ali, there's a big thing. Go check out my YouTube videos about K-1s being stuck. This is not just your case. This is a wide-scale issue that's happening. There's lawsuits on this, but essentially it's due to COVID and the embassy shutdowns. Charles says, how long will it take a green card when you file for U visa? There is no fixed time. It's going to be a long time. There's delays. but talk with your lawyer about that. Marwan says, I want to apply for my grandma, but I don't know which way is a good way. Well, you cannot apply for your grandmother. There's no green card application for that. Your grandma will have to figure out a way to do it on her own, or maybe if your mother or father, whoever's related to your grandmother, who you relate through, they can maybe do something on that. Sandy says, I have an interview next week. Is it right that the supplemental document is enough, just the last statement? Sandy, I don't know your individual case, so I can't advise on what's enough for you. And Brian asks, when are they going to open the courts? This is me. I can't tell the future. When is COVID going to end? User 385 says, can you please tell me how long it takes to get a work permit after biometrics? There is no time limit or to that. There's no answer to that question. And you asked that question again. So let's go to Instagram really quick. Prandi asks, I had an interview in March 2020, but unfortunately rescheduled because of COVID. But unfortunately, you got positive for the rescheduling. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry to hear that, Prandi. I hope you feel better and just got to wait to have your interview scheduled. Jake Help says, can you share any anecdotal evidence on how long it takes for I-765, I-311 days? Maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 11 months. It's just so all over the place, and it depends on what kind of work permit you're requesting. I have, for example, an L2 case. It's a spouse of an intercompany transferee. We applied for the extension and the work permit. It's going to be a year now. Just got the biometrics points after 11 months and still no work permit. But I have an adjustment of status case. One of them got the work permit after 4 months, and one of them got their work permit after 7 months. So these questions about timelines are impossible to answer because they're all over the place. There's complete lack of consistency. And I know people are frustrated about this. When is the work permit going to come? When is trial permission going to come? There's just no answer to that. I know you want to ask and try to get something that helps you, but the reality is it's better to know the truth, which is there's no answer, rather than try to base it on something that's just there. Fabner says, what are the immigration policies that make it hard for immigrants to know their rights? What are immigration policies that make it hard for immigrants to know their rights? I mean, who knows what the rights? Not just immigrants. Most people don't know what their legal rights are. That's why there's lawyers out there. That's why you get paid for that kind of stuff. So it's not a policy necessarily. It's just how the law is written. You're welcome, user 38. Ali asks, any Biden immigration policies for illegal immigrants who come legally but overstayed? As I said in the beginning, there are no policies by President Biden. Nothing has changed. He hasn't done anything. All the existing rules, statutes, regulations, those are all that there is. Marlon says, my mom, she has a green card. Can she apply for my grandma? No, your mom has to be a U.S. citizen. To be able to apply for a parent, you have to be a U.S. citizen. Green card holders cannot apply for their parents, only U.S. citizens. Moreno asks, have you known any cases for people getting arrested on their I-400 interview? Well, there's no I-400, there's N-400, and I don't know why you would get arrested unless you have a crime, which you'll get arrested anyway. So I'm not sure what your question is necessarily. If you're worried about being arrested at an interview, you probably should consult with an attorney in private beforehand, not a YouTube attorney. Let's put it that way. My hair is getting kind of long from this COVID, lack of haircut. Sorry about that. I'm rushing my hair, and all this stuff. All right, so we have another question on TikTok. Adil says, can we apply for Medicaid if my mom has a green card? Adil, I can't give individual advice. I don't know your background to be able to advise on Medicaid. Plus, I'm an immigration attorney, not a health benefit attorney. So I would have to refer you to another person to talk with in private about something like that. Oscar asks, what is the I-485 supplement A? Can I use it to apply for a green card if I enter without inspection? Okay, so I-485A is a supplemental application you submit when you're applying for a green card in the United States, adjustment of status. It's based on INA 245I. There's a statute, a regulation that says, how should we put it? So if you're going to file for a green card in the United States, it's called adjustment of status. The rules are listed in Section INA, Immigration Nationality Act, Section 245. And it says that if you, before a certain year, like 2001, there's an exact date to it, had an application or petition pending for you, and this is very simplified what I'm saying, you could potentially still be able to adjust status and get a green card in the United States because you had an application pending way back when. And so if you have proof of that proper application pending and you have another way to adjust status or on that existing application, adjust status, apply for a green card in the United States, even if you came in without permission, even if you worked here without permission, you'll still be able to file for a green card. Now, this is called 245I. What I said was so simplified that I do not want you to rely on that. You really need to have a proper analysis of this because there's a lot of different aspects. The way they've written this rule and they made out this rule over time is so complicated. It took me hours and hours to fully understand how to deal with it. But that's INA 245I. It depends on if you had a petition pending. So a lot of times in my consultation with clients, I ask, like, well, do your parents have a green card, for example? And they say, yeah, they do. Well, if your parents have a green card, potentially that child who came in without permission or overstayed comes to my office. They can get a green card too because they were in on their parents' application back in the 1990s. And even though they had these violations, it's forgiven. We just need to have proof that that case was filed, and then have another way or existing way to apply for the green card. But it gets kind of complicated. Just know that, yeah, if you have some sort of case that was started for you, or maybe your parents, you're a derivative of that case, a beneficiary of that case. Well, like your grandparent applied for your mom, your dad, and you would have been on that case. And that case was started in the 90s, maybe in 2000. There's an exact date cutoff on that. Maybe you could file for a green card in the United States and not have to do consular processing, meaning leave the United States, do an interview at the embassy to be able to get your green card. All right, we have another question from J. Calbeck. Says, how long does it take to get an interview for our adjustment of status? There is no timelines, whenever they want. It's not even, and that one's not even anecdotal. It just varies wildly. So I can't answer that question. Fabulous. Hi, quick question. We'll ask your question. We'll see if we can answer it or not. Joe Rocky said, hi, can I apply for citizenship without felonies? Probably not, but I don't know. I have to see the record of what happened. You should try to make sure to at least hold on to your green card, but talk with the lawyer in private about something like that. Ali says, is there any way to get a work permit if anyone doesn't have documents? There are some rare ways. If you had a U visa or you're a victim of a serious crime that you're reporting to police, if you get TPS, for example, some sort of deferred action sometimes allows it. It's very rare, but maybe possible. Fabno says, as much as the U.S. advocates human rights, do you see that upheld or violated in most immigration laws? What you call human rights is subjective. We don't know exactly what human rights are. There's a lot of things that all countries across the world do that are not humane, but may or may not be considered human rights. So it's a loaded kind of question. The immigration laws are what they are. The U.S., at the end of the day, no matter how harsh our immigration laws may seem, we have the best, most open immigration laws, policies of any country in the world for people to be able to come here, get green card, become a citizen, and be able to vote and control the destiny of this country. Now, there's countries like Turkey who have millions of refugees come there and live there. God bless them, but they live in refugee camps. In America, you come here, you get a work permit, and you can live your life a lot of times. So as much as people want to bash America on this stuff, we have the best immigration policy in general when it comes to amount of people that come in and are able to adjust and become Americans. I have family in Europe. I have family across the world. Even if they get citizenship of those countries in Germany, in France, they're always going to be a foreigner. But in America, you come here and over time, you become an American. You can live here and just be American, make decisions about the future of this country, and say, I'm an American, and not necessarily say I'm this foreign person and feel that. And so I got to, say like this, I don't want to bash America. We have the system can be made better, but it's a bureaucracy. It's very hard to write these rules. Even I've tried to rewriting these rules with people. It's very complex on how to do it because there's different interests involved, different issues. But if it's about human rights, I would say the U.S. has the most human rights-based policy. If you go Japan doesn't even let people get citizens of the country. They don't even let people be dual nationals. U.S. you could have 3 different citizenships if you want to, if you can pull it off. Japan, Germany, India, Brazil. Not Brazil necessarily. They have some things, but a lot of these countries won't even allow you to be dual nationals. You have to lose your citizenship if you go somewhere else. So America is a really open country. Human rights are great. Obviously, what happens at the border is bad. But what other countries have people constantly come at the border, and a lot of them do get in. It's a unique position that we're in. So I would just rephrase that question. I would look at differently than how you phrased it. Jenny asks, should my U.S. spouse petition for my children at the same time with mine? Probably, Jenny, but I need to know your individual case and issues to be able to guide you on if that's appropriate, if it's even possible. User 7 says, I have applied for my brother and his 3 kids, but he passed away. So now what happens? Kid status. I don't know where your case is, user ID, but usually if the principal person applied passed away, unfortunately, I'm sorry for your loss. Then probably the case goes away, but I have to review that in private to know what's going on. Fabio, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you as well for the question. Jane says, what does the Biden immigration bill translate to for out-of-status non-immigrants? We don't even know what the Biden bill is. They just sent us a synopsis. Really, the Biden bill is saying I'm pro-immigrant, vote for me kind of thing, but there's nothing really there. So, what's going to happen? Who knows? Bright says, hi, question. I didn't get my biometrics yet for my N400 citizenship. I applied to 2020. Yeah, you got to wait. There's massive delays on this kind of stuff. Captain Marwan asks, I'm using a baptism certificate in lieu of my birth certificate, which no longer exists, but the baptism certificate has a typo, incorrect birthday. Can I still submit it? Captain Marwan, that's too case specific. It sucks that you have this issue because it complicates the hell out of your case. That you see if you can fix that typo. I don't know what to tell you. That's something you have to have a private consultation on. It's going to be an issue general for you. Hopefully, it's not too big issue that can't be fixed. Is immigration open? Is the U.S. Embassy in Pakistan doing interviews? They are doing some interviews. Depends on your case and if they want to schedule it. Chrissy asks, if my removal of conditions receipt are about to expire in a month, what should I do? Well, it doesn't really matter. If you're not going to travel or you don't need it for a proof of work, you don't need to do anything. But if your 2-year removal of condition extension receipt, which is 18 months, what times have to expire, and you need to travel, or you need it for work authorization, you need to prove that you're a green card holder, you need to schedule an info pass appointment to get a green card stamp in your passport to show that you are a green card holder as evidence. But again, if you're not going to travel, you're not finding a new job, then you don't need to do anything. And hopefully in a couple months, the case will be approved and you'll just get your 10-year green card. All right, so Fabi asks, for ROC, removal of conditions, you guys don't need to put initials, put the whole thing, because no one calls it ROC. Lawyers don't call it ROC. No need for 2 passport photos, right? And a copy of important page of the passport, the whole thing. Well, different lawyers do it differently. You definitely don't need passport photos for removal of conditions. And whether you don't even need your passport pages unless you're using the passport page is not necessarily needed. I'm not sure what kind of evidence you're using for your removal of conditions, whether passport pages are needed. But generally for removal of conditions, you need your green card front and back, marriage certificate, then a bunch of evidence of your relationship, unless you had other issues, like if you had been arrested or something like that, you need some of that kind of evidence, but that's that. Moonlight says, sucks that the Biden administration is leaving K1s in limbo. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this whole recording, the Biden administration so far has been all talk, no action. The fact that they're not removing these restrictions, leaving K1s up in the air, not getting those scheduled, letting these U.S. citizen fiancés come here, and the way they're acting is horrible, horrible, horrible. So hopefully I'm proven wrong, and as soon as possible, things normalize. But so far, things have not been good. Clarice says, hi, John. If an I-539B, that's a extension, B visa is in process, extension of a tourist visa is in process without fingerprints, should we apply for a second extension? Thanks for answering. If you still need to be here and the time you requested on your extension of your tourist visa is about to expire, it wouldn't hurt. I would probably request another extension so they kind of match those up and give a longer one. But I don't know what the reason for your extension request was. So if you say, I just got to be here for another 3 months for some reason, 3 months pass by, why are you still here? You could potentially leave. So it's problematic. These are the kind of situations where you should definitely consult with an attorney in private. Oscar says, can I use an ITIN, individual tax ID number, as a substitute for a social security number for a driver's license? Oscar, I'm not a person that handles things related to a driver's license, so I can't answer that. It's a more technical than that, and it's not something I talk about here. Sujan says your camera is out of focus. Yeah, the software I'm using right now, the quality of the video is not as good. I'm recording this on a good camera. Later on, the recording of this will be available on YouTube and all these other places where you can catch videos of mine, so you can catch a better version of the video there. But unfortunately, this software, even though I paid more to get the HD version, maybe I'll turn that on. Let me see, camera, show advance. Yeah, it's supposed to be high definition. It's supposed to be HD. Unfortunately, the $20 a month or $50 a month I'm paying for StreamYard is not going anywhere. So that's that. But thanks for letting me know. Fabian says, thank you. You're welcome. Chloe says, hi, John. I had to cancel my interview in September because my husband's military orders and I haven't been rescheduled yet. Is that normal? Yeah, I mean, they're fully packed. And so it's hard to get booked again. However, Chloe, if your husband is not here, you could still do adjustment of status. There's a rule that says if you have the paperwork for the deployment of your husband, and let's say you're in the U.S. alone, your husband's out in Japan or wherever on a military base, you can still do your adjustment of status interview. So I hope you had a lawyer. We didn't probably, but yeah, I would have just gone with you and got your husband's deployment orders so you don't have to postpone things unnecessarily like that. Jay Claude asks, for those who got COVID-19 vaccine, do they need to prove a negative COVID-19 test when they enter the United States? In general, about a few days ago, the Surgeon General said that anyone entering the United States has to have a clear COVID test result from like the last 72 hours. So that's that. That could change anytime, but that's that right now. Eliana asks, hello, I'm waiting for my interview scheduled. Cases F2A, spouse of a green card holder. Is there anything new for the bans? Nothing new. I just went through it all. Everything's just bad as it was. No changes. Jay Caleb says, thank you for your answer. The camera looks just fine. Thank you, Jay Caleb. Moonlight, the camera looks fine. Thanks, Moonlight. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone who responded. The video I'm seeing right now myself looks a little blurry because I have another camera that has high quality, high definition, so I can see how much better it could be. But at least we're getting information out. The key thing is that you could hear me and I can read your questions. And hopefully I'm doing a good job at the questions and help you out. You're welcome, Brett. You're welcome, Chrissy Fit. Brett, is this backlog because of COVID? Yeah, mostly because of COVID. But, the thing is, President Trump, imploded the immigration system. And so there's a huge backlog trying to put it all together. I mean, a lot of people left, a lot of people dissatisfied. They made extra burdens on every little thing, micromanaging. So they really just messed up the whole system. Kelly asks, petitioning for a spouse out of the United States with my green card, how long can the process take? Kelly, I have a detailed video about this. Go to my YouTube page, which you're on right now. I'm not sure which YouTube page you're on, but the JQK Law YouTube page. Just look up how long marriage green card case. It breaks down every type of marriage green card case, how long the timelines are. But be aware, because your spouse is overseas and because of COVID, many of the embassies are shut down. It just might be that the timelines are unknown as to how much it's actually going to take. But that's the best answer for that. Eliana says, thank you, you're welcome. Maureen asks, what is the difference on background checks on getting a green card and become a citizen? They're all full background checks. The U.S. has different security systems when they analyze somebody, and it depends on which level of security the algorithm tells them they got to do. But it's such an internal thing. It's not something we really know the details of or really matters to what you're doing. It just file the case and just wait it out. Chloe says, thank you. It wasn't because of deployment. It was PCS orders. Interview was scheduled in Virginia right before moving to California. That's why I canceled. We're still waiting for a new interview. Okay. Just make sure you properly notify USCIS. When you cancel an interview because you moved, many times USCIS makes some error and just denies your case, even if you did call them in advance and told them. So follow up on that. It's a mess. Oscar says, I had a lawyer tell me that undocumented immigrants without DACA are not eligible for advanced parole. Is this true? Yeah, probably. It's not 100% true. Anyone could always apply for a humanitarian advanced parole. You're probably not going to get approved. So it's so unlikely that most people who'd ask me, could I get advanced parole? I don't have any status. Unless there's a really bad emergency and you have good facts and you know that you're probably going to get denied, so you're wasting your money on doing it. Yeah, you give it a chance. But it's not realistic. Probably deferred action DACA or people at TPS. And there's some small other exceptions. Maybe you could get advanced parole, but it's just probably not going to happen. But it's possible. I can't say 100%. Clarice says, thanks, John. Reason is because of COVID and flight cancellations. Recently, flights were reestablished, but we are awaiting fingerprints. The second extension is because of risk to abandon. Yeah, sorry, Clarice. Sorry, I kind of lost track of your question, too, because we have so many in between, but no problem. Bobby says, do you recommend using G1450? Is G1450 the credit card one? If that's what you're talking about, you could pay the government fee with a credit card. I haven't used that for so long because I don't recommend it. I even forgot the foreign name. Yeah, I was right. It's G1450. So when you apply for a green immigration case with the USCIS lockbox, not a service center with a lockbox, you can submit it by credit card, but I don't recommend it. I've had several times when I used to do it where we send it in and they would say you didn't send it in, or they say the credit card didn't go through, or the credit card numbers are wrong. And I have a scan and copy of it, and I use my own credit card, my business credit card for it. So I know there was no problem. So I stopped doing that. I send in checks only. I don't use G1450. I don't let my clients use it anymore either, because I've had clients have issues where they overcharge their card, or they get calls from USCIS or from their credit card. It says, the Chicago lockbox wants to charge your car for $1,760. Do you approve this? And the client doesn't know what the Chicago lockbox is. The Chicago lockbox is the location that gets your green card case and processes it. I know that because I have to deal with them constantly, but a regular person doesn't know that. And so in this one case, they said, no, we don't recognize that's fraud. And their case got rejected, and I created a whole mess of problems for them. And then I can't even get to here because it's just too long. But I generally do not recommend using G1450. The application, use a credit card for USCIS payments. Signer says, I got a mail saying that we need to fill out the I-944. They told me the end date with that being exempt was on September 22nd. In general, you got to submit it. Unless you submitted your adjustment of status case before February 24th, 2020, you're going to have to submit for I-944 unless rules change. However, you have extensions, extra 60 days of time to file it because of the COVID extensions. Maybe, hopefully, President Biden gets finished and throws that I-944 away. It could change. There's a lot we got to talk about. It's the strategy of what that works. Maybe just not submit it, or submit a plain version of it and hope that by the time your interview happens for the case to prove that this rule goes away, but there's chances there. We're hoping on some future thing happening, so we don't know. Lala says, we working to get a husband his residency. We just had a baby with special needs. Does that help? It can, Lala, but it depends on your case facts. I'm not sure if it's appropriate or not. It makes a difference. Hey, Sammy. Sammy asks, I have a U.S. passport. My wife has Swedish passport. How can I bring my wife here? Well, you apply for a green card. The best thing to do is go to www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com, marriageimmigrationlaw.com. I have the Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook, no cost. You download it, 40-plus pages. Breaks down the whole process, Sammy. marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. And then once you have a strategy, know all the basics, then you talk with a lawyer to fine-tune what's appropriate for that case, and you bring your wife here. I have a lot of Swedish cases like that, no problem. Ashley asks, are they doing interviews in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico? They are, but it's very slow. Azim says, you've always done a good job. Don't worry about the camera quality. Thank you, Azim. Appreciate that. Thank you for always following and your kind words. Cuervo says, I'm planning to get married. My fiance is in Mexico. What do you recommend? I'm born and raised in Cali. Cuervo, again, download the marriageimmigrationlaw.com guide, Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Cuervo, I need to talk with you because one issue with Ciudad Juarez, with the previous question asked is, they're so backed up that you might wait 2 or 3 years easily just to get an interview. Hopefully it'll be 2 or 3 years. It's so backed up. So schedule a private consultation to talk about just the situation involved. That's the way to go, Cuervo. But thank you for your question. Irshad asks, I'm married to a U.S. spouse and I spend 45 days outside. Can I apply for N400 or do I need to wait 45 days? Irshad, I don't know. I got to review the whole case right there before I could give an answer to an individual like that. All right, Sigmund says, are they processing I-944, which is the last document? Does that mean I may get green card soon? Sigmund, I don't know your case, so I can't say exactly what's going to happen. Ashley says, thank you. You're welcome. Let's see. We got a bunch of questions on YouTube. Coral says, any changes for asylum seekers under Biden? No, Biden has made no real changes, so we don't have any answers. Sue John says, my parent got approved for a B2 visitor visa before COVID hit, and I'm planning to bring them here in March of this year. Is there anything else currently needs to file extra with COVID? Sue John, I don't know where the background of your parents, so I can't advise particularly for you, but there's COVID bans if you visit certain countries. There's tests you have to give before you come. Those are the basics, but I need to know individually more about you before I can answer that question. Fabi says, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Cuervo. Thanks, and congrats on getting married. A big step. Hopefully you have a beautiful wedding. Zach asks, have you heard anyone receive a new I-797 notice that extends a green card for 12 months instead of the sticker? I must have got one. Yeah, just an extra paper. That's about it. David Robles asks, I'm undocumented. How can I apply for deferred action and not DACA program? We have to have a reason to file for deferred action. It's usually done in court or something like that. If there's some special need, it's not something you really just apply for. It depends. It's very rare cases where you can apply. Schedule a private consultation with an attorney to review the facts of your case to see if it's like something special that will make it a little bit different. But it's not something you just usually go and apply for. Can I apply for my mom? She's in Mexico. If you're a U.S. citizen, you could apply for your mom. Start the process. It'll take some time, but yeah, you could apply for your mom if you're a U.S. citizen. That's about it. All right, so we're nearing the end of the show. Thank you for everyone who came with your beautiful questions. We had a lot of lively, good questions. I hope we got some good answers out of it. Shamil asks, I'm planning to become a U.S. citizen, wondering if having a medical become an issue as public charge. Well, Shamil, the public charge can be an issue for citizenship, not like the adjustment of status of green card phase, but for public charge, they look to see whether you use public benefits improperly. So, for example, in the U.S., for you to be able to get certain medical benefits for free from the government, you have to say, I don't make any money. However, there's a rule that says if you got your green card through a family member, for example, that family member is supposed to support you financially. And so when they ask you for getting a free medical benefit, how much money you make, not only do you have to include the money you made, but you have to include the money that the family member makes too. And once you put those two numbers together, you probably make too much, so you won't get a free benefit from the government. And so, but many times, most people don't even know this. And it's not really enforced by USCIS, rarely is it enforced. But when you file and get this free medical benefit, potentially, and not filling the form out properly, that can constitute fraud. And that's what becomes problematic at the citizenship stage. Not the public charge itself, but a violation for fraud. And you know, public charge, and now with Trump, the way he did it, it's always can come back a little. I wouldn't really be afraid of that. It'll be more afraid of the fraud charge that says you got a medical benefit from the government, free medical care when you weren't supposed to. That'd be my bigger fear. There may be some small public charge issues, highly unlikely that's the issue, but I need to know a lot of information about everything that happened in your case before I could advise on that, Shamis. But thank you for your question. Okay, we had some questions on YouTube. Let's see. Coyote asks, how many months does USCIS issue receipt notice after filing? 1, 2, 3, 4 months, something like that. David Robles, what if you don't qualify for an I-601A waiver? Then you're out of luck. I don't know what to tell you. You have to see if something else applies to you. Ben says, hi, do you know when the U.S. Embassy will reopen? Please, whenever you tell me COVID is done, I'll tell you when the embassies are going to reopen fully. Anna says, how long does it take to get a reply to putting your I-485, I-130? Well, you get a receipt hopefully 1 to 4 months later. Then the rest of that depends on the details of your case and how long it takes them to get to you. All right, so user 71 says, NBC, who long time interview date, I have the green card. Yeah, your question doesn't make any sense, but if your case to NBC, you gotta wait. I don't know what to tell you. Azim says, yes, we got married. Maria says, how long does it take to apply for citizenship for them to call you for your exam? There's no timeline. It depends on whenever they have a time to see you. Let's see. As in, good idea, help someone give them affidavit support. Is it a good idea to be a joint sponsor for an affidavit support? Well, that's a personal decision. As a lawyer, generally, no. I mean, you're putting yourself liability. So when you submit an affidavit support for somebody, you're saying you're going to pay for them and their bills if you have to, essentially. And so is that a good idea or not? Well, it depends. If, I need to do it for my sister, if I need to do it for my niece, if I need to do it for my mom or something like that, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. Am I going to do it for my best friend? Maybe. Am I going to do it for someone I don't really care for, or who's, a person who's a deadbeat or just piles up debt and I can't afford to pay for them? So that maybe not. So it really depends on how much you care about the person and how much risk you want to take on. So it is a real deep personal issue. And that's just all it is. Okay, so we got some more questions on YouTube. How many months, KO asks, does USCIS process I-290B? It varies depending on the case. W asked about any news on a travel ban. I talked about that a lot today already. Sorry, catch the video of this. Sujan says, typically how many days take for I-140 approval? Sujan, it varies so drastically for an I-140 approval. It could be 1 month, 2 months, could be a year or more. Fabi asks, how many months of joint bank statements? For what, Fabi? You have to be more detailed than what you're asking. Jake Hollop says, it took 7 months for me now, I-140 NIW. Yeah, it could take 6, 7 months. I've seen it take over a year. I've seen it pre and processing certain types of I-140s get done in a week. So it varies wildly. Rob says, when we can expect reform to be passed? Rob, when can I expect COVID-19 to be done? That's the same kind of question you're asking. This is a political situation. There's a lot going on. It's not a question that can be answered. K-Rod says, for parents, what can I apply for? If you're a U.S. citizen, you can apply for the green card, and that's about it. Anna Maria says, how long does it take to get your work permit and Social Security number? Putting I-145. Right now, time is 6 months to get your work permit. Maybe if you file for the paperwork, you need to file for the proper paperwork for it. But it could be 10 months or it could be 11 months. And the Social Security office right now is practically shut down. So getting a Social Security number and a card is a big headache. You have to call them. There's no real timelines on that. Okay, I'll take 1 or 2 more questions, and that'll be it for today. If you are thinking about doing a marriage-based case, go to www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. And wherever you're watching, like, subscribe to get more information just like this. Last question we'll give to Ayusha. Can I file I-751 without green card? I haven't received my physical green card. So you're saying you got your green card approved 2 years ago, still haven't got it. Now you need removal of conditions. I mean, it is possible to apply and just say it was lost. What's more appropriate is you file the I-90 for renewal first. I got to see what's going on because it doesn't make sense that's been taking this long. You just still don't have it. That's something I have to research. So I can't get any exact information on that. So I know information on what's going on in your case to see why you didn't get in the first place. So Aisha, please schedule a private consultation and we could talk about that. That's about it. So thank you for joining us. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi. This was a bunch of general education information I gave you. I appreciate everyone who was on. Catch us again next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, where we'll take your questions live. God bless. Be safe.